One antique horse-drawn John Deere Sickle Mower model number 3 would be pretty nice to have around your old-fashioned farm. Wouldn't you agree? So having 2 of them would be twice as good. And 3 John Deere Sickle Mower model number 3s would be triple great, right? You say, Paul Mac, why do you have 3 John Deere antique horse-drawn Sickle Mower model number 3s on your farm? Well, I'll explain. Just keep watching. You know, there are several old makes and models of sickle mowers from the 30s and 40s all over the United States, but it's rare to find one in functional working condition. A lot of them, if not most all of them, have been sitting around as yard decorations for the last 70 years. So rust and corrosion have taken their toll, and it's hard, not impossible, but difficult to get one back in functional working order. I had a friend that let me know that he had 3 of these for sale, and I went with the intention of buying one, and then I thought, you know, I could buy the other one for parts. And when he made me a deal on the 3rd one, you know me, I couldn't resist. So I got all 3 John Deere Sickle Mower, and they're all model number 3s. And so I thought, okay, I'll get one of them functional, perhaps, get it working again, and use the others for parts. Now, the best candidate for restoration is this one at the front of the trailer here. I was told that it was functional 6 years ago. Of course, it's been sitting around, I think, for that whole time. And obviously, it's not functional at the moment because there's a wooden pitman arm that's completely broken in half. Actually, it's more accurate to say it's rotted completely in 2. So obviously, that's going to need repairing. But the good news is, if you can see that, it still turns. The gears are still turning inside, so this one is probably the best candidate for restoration. And this one might be a close second. It could be possible that I could restore 2 of them and use the 3rd for parts. I don't know. We'll just have to see when we get into it. Hopefully we can at least restore one of them and get it working, get it mowing again around my farm. So let's start with a little more in-depth evaluation of all 3 of them. As you can probably see, this one does have a tongue attached, and I was told that it was attached to a tractor and pulled by a tractor, and it was when it was functional 6 years ago in mowing. Now all 3 of them have the cutter bar. That's the long mechanism over there that actually cuts the grass. It looks like one of them is 5 feet. Maybe that one's 6 foot. I'll have to measure. I hadn't measured yet. Maybe 5.5 foot, something like that. 2 of them are 5.5 foot. Looks like one of them is 6 foot. This one down here on the end, it has the cutter bar, but it doesn't have the knife. And the knife is what actually does the cutting, and it does the moving inside the cutter bar. The cutter bar is composed of several little components there. You have the guides, which are the pointy things that look pretty dangerous. But the only reason they're sharp is to go through the grass and separate the grass so that it falls into the mouth and is severed by the blade going back and forth. That's basically what a mower does. It's just a blade, a knife with several teeth in there. The teeth are called sections, and they go back and forth real quick as you're going along, just cutting the grass. And so that you don't have to replace the cutter bar because of friction wearing down the bar all the time, there are wear plates just under the knife, and on top there's a knife holder that keeps the knife pressed down against the guides there. And the guide, each one of those pointy guides also has a wear plate in it, so that you don't have to replace the whole thing. You just replace the wear plate at whatever point it wears down, if that makes sense. So as I said, these 2 have knives in them. This one looks like a foot longer than the other one, and the last one doesn't have a knife in it. So maybe the wear plates on it, or the knife holder, or the the guides could be used to restore these other two if they have teeth or guides or whatever that are too far gone. On the top end of each cutter bar are grass boards. They're called grass boards, and they should have a wood piece. The wood is rotted off each one of them. It looks like this middle one here has a lot of the metal components still on it, so it's probably going to be the good candidate for restoring this one. Now, you probably notice that it has a lot of levers that look complicated. It's really not. This long lever right here with a trigger on it, you're able to actually lift the mower up when you're not using it. In other words, when you'd be transporting it to and from the hayfield, you would use that to lift it up. You can also, it's got a foot lever back here, and because it's so heavy, that cutter bar is pretty heavy, and the whole mechanism is heavy, and so it's got a foot pedal back here that would assist you in lifting it as you're pulling the lever and then lock it in place. Also, there's a spring that helps lift the mower when it's not in use. It looks as though these springs are both intact and the original length functional. This spring looks like it broke off and somebody used a trace chain to extend it and connect it to the little hook there. So that might be something that I steal off one of these other two and put on this one. There's another lever right over here that's just off the axle of the wheel, and that is actually for tilting the teeth up or down, and it's got several little sprockets there that you can adjust for a certain tilt, depending on how your grass is or what type of grass, or if it's a wet or whatever. You could get a better shear on it when you're cutting. And I guess also it helps adjust that tilt for how high your tongue is, whether you got short mules or tall mules or just whatever with that. There's another lever right here, and this is a very important lever. It's operated by your foot. This is what actually puts the mower in gear or takes it out of gear when you're transporting it to and from the field. And it looks like, from what I remember when we put these on the trailer, this one is moving really well. It goes in and out of gear. So that's a good thing. That's a real good thing. Look here, they even come with a built-in toolbox that's cast right into the chassis of the unit. A lot of them are rusty like that, and they've got a hole in it so that water can drain out, but it looks like this one got stopped up and it's pretty rusty. That's where you would hold your wrenches for making adjustments out in the field. And the little cup holder there is actually not a cup holder for your Coca-Cola, although it could be used for that. That's where you would keep your oil can, because while you're working out in the hayfield, it's important that you keep everything oiled up, lubricated, and running real smooth. So, oil holder. You'd have to install your own cup holder if you wanted to carry Coca-Cola or Mountain Dew with you. And speaking of oiling and lubricating the mowers, this one of the reasons this one's in good shape is it still has the oil caps on them, which are actually still turning there. You can unscrew these, squirt some oil down on the axle on either side. In fact, it has oil ports in different locations on it. These don't necessarily have all the oil ports, so that's something to think about. And of course, all three have seats. Looks like that one needs a little tightening or you're going to fall out and the horses are going to leave you behind. So, and by the way, people buy these old tractor seats and implement seats and for decoration. They look good hanging on the wall, somebody figured out. So they're worth, what, $20, $25, $30, maybe more depending on where you're at. But to me, they're for sitting on when you're mowing with a John Deere Sickle Mower model number 3. And then the one last part I'll mention, I just mentioned it kind of a while ago, is the pitman bar. And that's actually it's supposed to be a wood bar that actually connects the power, the turning flywheel there to the cutter bar going back and forth. And because, if you can see, because the flywheel turns like this, it'll be turning kind of like that, the pitman bar goes back and forth, which causes the knife to go back and forth. It's real simple. Isn't it beautiful? Just what a wonderful machine. What a wonderful invention. These things were built to last, and I guess they did. It's been, what, 80 years, 90 years since they were built. And they were sturdy. Things were sturdy back then. I just appreciate that. So, as I said, 3 John Deere Sickle Mower number 3s. I'm going to probably restore this one. It's the best candidate. Use the other two for parts. Maybe I can get another one functional, this one here in the middle. And you say, well, what will you do with this one after you've ripped all the parts off? That's a good question. Actually, I'm thinking that what I might do is I don't have horses, I don't have mules, at least not at this point anyway. What I am looking at doing down the road is I've got milk cows, Jerseys. And at some point down the road, I'm hoping that at least 2 of the cows will throw off 2 small bulls at the same time, about the same size. And I will start yoking them together and training them, and I'll probably take the whole year to train them and video it so that you can join me in the journey of breaking a couple of working steers. And that's probably what I'll end up using to pull these mowers with. And if I get one going in the meantime, I might pull it with my tractor or get my wife to pull it on the lawnmower if she's agreeable to that. We'll just have to see, because a lot of people do that. You can pull these with anything. People pull them with ATVs, four-wheelers, side-by-sides, lawnmowers, or whatever. It doesn't require, they're so heavy that it doesn't require somebody actually sitting on the seat for the wheels to run and the gears to operate and actually make the sickle bar mow. So that's an option too, at least until we get the steers up and going. So that's the plan. And since I'll be working with the steers, one of the you don't ever want to hitch a green animal that you're training to a good implement and then they take off and run away and wreck it into your fence or tree or your whatever. So it's a good idea to get them used to something that is not worth that much at first. So the third one that I use for parts, that would be a good candidate to put a tongue on it and start getting the steers used to hearing the sounds that it makes, because it makes a loud, kind of a little sound, and they need to get used to that. Of course, it wouldn't have the mower on it, so I'd have to sit back there and go while I'm, getting them used to it. That would be really weird, but you do what you got to do, don't you? So one last thing, I want to mention my philosophy of restoration, philosophy of restoring old tools and farm machinery. There's basically 3 thoughts to this. The first thought is that you would restore something to its original condition, like brand new. That would require not only getting it functional, but making it look like it was just off the showroom floor. That's probably the direction I'm going to take with this. I probably would restore it as much as possible to its mint like new condition. Now, there's a second thought when you're restoring tools or antique machinery, and that is to leave it as it is in appearance, but get it functional. Get it working, whatever the tool is, get it functional so that you could use it, but leave it with the appearance that it is. Because to some people, and to me, it depends on the tool, it depends on the machine. I like looking at things that have patina. That's a word that just means age. It looks as old as it actually is. And the best way to get a 70-year-old patina on a machinery is to wait 70 years. And that's quite a time investment. It basically takes your lifetime to get something to look 70 years old. And so when you go restoring it and you paint it, you'll never get that back, that 70-year-old look. So there's a philosophy there, and I adhere to it sometimes. There's times where I don't want to restore a tool to where it looks brand new. I want it to look like it's still old. So maybe we'll do that with the second one if we can get it functional. Just leave the rust on it. We'll just have to see. The third option for restoring old tools or machinery is, and usually if it's in such poor shape that it's impossible to get it functional again, the goal would be to just preserve it as is so that it doesn't deteriorate any further. And so those are the 3 basic ideas when you're restoring machinery, and sometimes I'm mixed on those. Sometimes, for instance, I've got an old hay wagon that at some point I want to restore, and I love the way it looks old, but yet I would also love to see it looking brand new with new boards, maybe painted. But then if you paint it, you're never going to get that old look back, and I'm torn. You know, sometimes I'm torn. But on this one, we're going to restore it all the way. Green, traditional, and yellow John Deere paint. So that's the idea. And get it functional. Mowing grass. That's important. By the way, if you're interested in that topic of restoring old tools and whether you should or not, and the whole philosophy I just mentioned, you might be interested in watching my video. It's called Restoring Old Farm Tools or Machinery or Not. So give that video a watch if you're interested in restoring old tools. You'll probably enjoy it. You might also be interested in watching my sorghum videos, because in one of those videos I restore an old 1903, I think, Golden's sorghum mill. I think it was a number 3 too. So you might give that video a watch as well. So that's it. I'm Paul Mack with my 3, count them, 3, 1, 2, 3, antique horse-drawn John Deere Sickle Mower, model number 3s. Isn't it rare to have 3 of them in one place? And we're going to restore one of them. Until next time, I'll talk at you later.